Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Contour community meeting for April 6th, 2021. As always, we expect that all our meetings abide by our code of conduct and everyone should be nice to each other. Okay, so we got a reasonably straightforward agenda this week. Steve, over to you. We got a bunch of KubeCon talks coming up.
Yeah, I know KubeCon's coming. We just recorded our talk because it's virtual again. So that one is this project update one is what I called it. So just to get notes and dates in there, folks are starting to build out their calendars and stuff. And these times are in Central Eastern European, whatever the time zone KubeCon is. So if you go to the schedule, I think you can pick your time zone. It'll convert it for you and make it easy. But these are all from the website in terms of the Europe time. So we have one project update with all of us, and then we have to meet the maintainer, like office hours, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, to come hang out and ask anything. So that's all. We'll probably bring these up every week until KubeCon, just to let everyone know.
I think that's a great idea. Yes. Anyone who's watching this one, please feel free to come along to those and ask any questions you have. That's a great chance for you to poke us about anything that you need to focus about. Okay, well, I think we've got Sanjay. Are you ready to tell us about doing the release?
Yeah, so last week we released Contour 114. I wrote up these release notes and clicked all the buttons. Some of the major changes, there was a few changes with global rate limiting. Steve K added a new feature that would enable you to turn on some rate limiting headers. So it'll tell you kind of about like some details about the global rate limiting in your requests and in the response that you get on a request. So like, well, how many requests are left in your rate limit, like, and whatnot. So you can check out some of those issues and PRs and the links over there. And also fixed a little bug in some of the global rate limiting attribute stuff. So that's some good contributions from Steve K, Chris. We also had some more changes around Ingress v1 support. So Contour's supported Ingress resource for a while, but has only really officially supported the v1 beta 1 version of Ingress. And we're trying to finish up support for the v1 version of the API. So there's these couple advances here in relation to that. We are now instead of just respecting the Ingress class annotation that you may be able to put on an Ingress resource, we also look at the spec field and filter ingresses based on that. So we won't be configuring your Envoy to look at when we're looking at ingresses if they are mentioning a ingress class name that Contour should not be looking for. So there's some rules written up over there. I'm actually writing some more documentation on like the general like notes around ingress, some of the differences between v1 and the v1 beta 1 resources now. That should be up on the PR up soon, hopefully later today. So we can have that documentation on the site, and that this information here on Ingress support will be captured there too. And then another thing on Ingress, we also are able to support more types of path matching. So before Contour only actually supported prefix path matching, and now we support all the different kinds that the Ingress spec lays out. Some more details on and examples in the release notes there. And I think the rest of these are some smaller changes and bug fixes, some stuff around oh, so actually this default header policy one, that's a new feature, I believe, entirely. So in the Contour configuration file, you can set up some HTTP headers that will be set or removed from all requests unless they're overridden by some configuration in an HTTP proxy. So it gives an operator, someone who's deploying Contour, the ability to set some defaults for your whole infrastructure, which is kind of nice. And then I think the rest of these are some bug fixes.
I think
And
the example
last
deployment, the example deployment
Yeah.
ports is important to call out though. Yeah.
Yeah, so we switched around how in the example manifest, the ports that Envoy will, or Contour will tell Envoy to listen on, and also changed around the service for Envoy in the example deployment. And this is maybe a little bit of an unexpected change. So we had some feedback, and we needed to call that out in the release notes that this happened. So if you're upgrading your Contour deployments using the example manifest, just be aware of that change. This was just, I believe, just an effort to just have everything use the default values that Contour, use all the default flags, use all the default values for Contour, instead of having Envoy in the container listen on port 80. It actually allows us to, Envoy can listen on port 8080 and 8443, so it doesn't have to be run in a privileged container as well. So that is a change here that people can be aware of if they are deploying using the example manifest. So, and I think, oh, and then one last note on the deprecations. Last release, we added some new Prometheus metrics that were used more idiomatic names, and put deprecation notice out for the ones that they're replacing. And in this release, we actually removed the ones with the less optimal names. So you can see that list there for some metrics that have been removed and what you should use instead. Those should have already existed. So as of the last release, hopefully you moved over, but this release is official time to use the new metric names.
Sanjay, I think
Awesome.
James had a, sorry, Nick. James had a comment about the rate limits. Are they correct? The X dash rate limits?
Yeah, I think so. If you go up to the top of this release notes with the global rate limiting headers that are added, I believe that IETF draft does not mention the X dash prefix at the front of these headers, but in practice, Envoy does send the X dash prefix. So maybe there's an older version of the draft that actually should be referenced or something, but Envoy actually does use the X prefix.
Yeah, I mean, everything Sanjay said is correct. And I didn't even notice that the RFC draft didn't have the X's, but you know, in the Envoy config, it refers to the specific version of the draft. So I'm not totally sure what the reason is for the discrepancy, but for better or worse, Envoy is naming them with X dash. So that's what users are going to get.
Yep. So I think that was it around the Contour controller release notes. The operator, I think, I don't know if Daniel, you want to speak to those. There were some changes around network publishing and stuff.
Yeah, we could highlight a few things. So a new network publishing type was introduced, called cluster IP service. As the name implies, this would, when specified, it would use a cluster IP type for the Envoy service. So this type was introduced to support the Knative use case, where Knative creates two provisions 2 instances of Contour and of course the Envoy fleet that corresponds to those each Contour. One that is public facing using the standard cluster IP or Nord put service that the Contour API currently supports, but a second instance of Contour and Envoy fleet is provisioned for within the cluster. And that's where the Envoy service should use a cluster IP type service. And that was really the driver behind introducing this new network publishing type. You know, as Sanjay covered previously, some of the work that's being done with ingress support, and we never had a way within the operator to expose configuring the ingress class name. That's now an option that again is exposed to the Contour API. The Contour gateway configuration support. So previously, only a gateway that had a specific name and a specific namespace, and that would be Contour as a name and Project Contour as a namespace, would only be supported. So now with this feature, gateway and you know, any name or namespace is supported, and of course that gateway needs to reference a gateway class that is owned by the operator for the operator to reconcile and act upon that gateway. Per Contour cluster scope RBAC, so this fixes an issue that existed where you know, there's a few cluster scope RBAC resources that when you create more than one instance of a Contour, those cluster scoped portions of those cluster scope resources get overwritten, and essentially, you know, you cannot run multiple instances of Contour. So that fixes this bug, and instead of using a single cluster scoped resource, for multiple instances of Contour, made the decision to actually create per Contour cluster scope resources. And the big impetus behind that was that there's ownership labels on these resources, and it starts to get hairy if if you have a cluster scope resource and multiple Contours are considered owners of that. And so this was the approach that was taken. Just go ahead and prepend, or I'm sorry, not prepend, but append the namespace that the Contour exists into the name of the cluster scope resource to create that differentiation. And conditionally starting gateway controllers. So previously, like even if you didn't have any of the gateway CRDs installed in your cluster, the operator would go ahead and start the gateway controllers. That's unnecessary if you don't want to have gateway API support or have gateways CRDs in your cluster. So this allows the operator to check for those CRDs if they exist, and then go ahead and start the gateway and gateway class controllers. And this last one is just making sure that the operator only reconciles gateway class resources that it owns. There was a bug that was identified where the operator was acting upon gateway class and gateway resources that it shouldn't.
Fantastic, thanks, Daniel. Yes, and I think the last thing that we should talk about today is related to gateway APIs. Yeah, I just put some quick notes in there. Please, everyone, correct me if I've made a mistake there. But basically, we've been discussing where the gateway controller will live. So the original design that we put in was that the gateway controller would be part of the operator, we also have another design for that the gateway controller, the thing that actually reconciles gateways, will be part of Contour. As part of that, Contour will need to deploy and maintain the Envoy daemon saddle deployment. So where we're going to go from here with those designs is that we're going to get the current approach working on a basic level. That means that we have to implement. I'm going to implement reading the status from the HTTP routes from the controller and updating them using the operator's gateway controller. And then while I'm doing that, we're going to start a spike on a new approach on the approach with Contour managing the envoys. I saw Steve S that you created an issue for that. Yeah, we'll put a link to that issue in this section somewhere. But regardless of all of that, there's still a lot of work to do to enable a bunch of the Gateway API's route features, TLS support, and a whole bunch of the other bits and pieces that make up the Gateway APIs from the route level. Regardless of which model we end up choosing, all of that work needs to be done. So if you're interested in Gateway APIs, please feel free to pick up one of those route issues. Otherwise, we'll get to. We'll hit those as soon as we can. Anyone else have anything else to say there? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, cool. So watch this space for Gateway APIs. We're hoping to have I'm hoping to have the sort of current setup mostly working. I mean, it's mostly working now, but have the status flow sorted out. I think that doing that exercise will be useful for the upstream project regardless, because having someone need sort of work through how does status on the route get reflected in the status on the gateway when they're not done by the same controller, I think lets you puts a focus on how the UX for someone who's only looking at the routes will be. So how will it be if you're an app dev and you only want to look at the route to find out what your routes are doing? You should be able to do that, I think. And I'm not currently confident that the design lets you do that. I think that it's kind of designed at the moment that you look at both the gateway and the route. But yeah, I'll have more to say about that as I look at it. So I think Steve and Damien are going to lead the work to do the spike on the new approach. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing some more updates from them about how that goes.
Yeah, Nick, on that note, Steve S and I met today just to at a high level start breaking apart the different steps that we feel are needed to move forward with option 2 for the Gateway API implementation. And so yeah, we're moving forward with that, and
awesome.
Hopefully we'll actually start seeing some code here in the near future.
Yep, great. Awesome. I think that's everything I can think of for this week. A little short meeting this day, unless anyone has anything else.
Nick, I put something in the Kubernetes channel, which is you said you were going to write something on
Yes.
Gateway API. So
I think I've been kind of waiting to do that a little bit until we have a little bit better idea about what we want to do about the gateway reconciling, as I think that's an important part of the philosophy here. So I think, but yeah, I just want to, I'll have a think about how we write down where we're at the moment, so that we can, as you say, have something up before KubeCon to explain where we're trying to go with the gateway APIs. I think regardless of which option we choose, there's definitely a sort of a broader philosophy that we want to implement the gateway API. We want the gateway API to be a thing that Contour supports. And we want to make sure that we're keeping up with the features of that and driving the design of the gateway APIs as an implementer, to say, hey, I actually went off and implemented this API and this bit was hard and this bit didn't make sense, or this bit was great, that sort of thing, to provide some actual implementer feedback back to the upstream project.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what we want the post to be. If we want to make it, like, what are we actually doing to support it in super detailed, then we should probably, but if we want it to just be, our philosophy, right? Like what it means to contour the project.
Yeah, okay.
Try something at a broader scale and push that out before KubeCon. I think that would help the session a little bit. But
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I will see what I can do about getting started on that. Yeah, I'll get something started today. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Cool.
do it on a GDoc and let's all add to it.
Cool. Okay. So if no one else has anything else, let's call the meeting there and give everybody their 7 minutes by my count back.
Everyone.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.